So did you know that 68% of managers believe that employees should actually be in the office to maintain company culture? But on the other hand, 55% of employees prefer to continue working remotely, even today, after COVID is remotely behind us, which is probably the reason that more than 65% of organizations are choosing today to implement a hybrid work model, which is what we're going to talk about today. So good morning. I'm Karin Guterman. I'm a senior consultant at Quatro. We're a consulting firm specializing in organizational development and leadership. We work with companies on developing 4 pillars, which are leadership, internal communication, innovation, and sales. And in the field of organizational development, we also have Quatro Plus, in which we lead processes of engagement, onboarding, mentoring, and work-life balance. And we work with organizations such as WalkMe, Synamedia, AppsFlyer, Natural Intelligence, and more. And today we have here with us Avi Romano from Synamedia, Senior Global HR Manager at Synamedia. We have Ricky Goldreich. I hope I'm saying it well.
Yeah,
VP Global HR at Radware. We have Yael Sapir-Zehavi, which is a VP HR at Tailor brands. And we have Littal, Shemer, Haim, which specializes in the people analytics and HR data strategy and more and more. We're going to talk about this new normal called implementing a hybrid work model. And I want to start with asking, Avi, asking you, how are you implementing a hybrid work model today at Synamedia?
Okay, so hi, Karin, thanks. So we had like a special opportunity in Synamedia because we just switched to a new building, and we knew that we wanted the new building to support. By the way, a small secret: we started working on a hybrid model 3 months before the COVID. We knew that this is something that the market is demanding. We have a lot of fights on trying to get the best talents. I'm sure Yael and Ricky will agree with me. And we wanted it to be like special and to give the added value. And we knew that the new facility has to support the new model of hybrid working, of a hybrid working model. So we divided and we saw it as an opportunity. We divided the employees for 3 main segments. The first one was remote. Okay, employees that's working only from home or home office, a hybrid model. These are like 48%, about 50% of our employees that will be working in a hybrid model between 2 or 3 days from home and the other ways from the office, and the office-based employees. And the entire facility is supporting. We have like 2 main pillars: the facilities and the comp and ben. So the facilities were designed and architectured based on that support we needed. We have we call it courtyards. The entire building is like divided different than the old one. We have like a semi-open places that we're working in. On those places, you can also support the Ministry of Health guidelines, but also to work together in the guidelines. And we can have like the distance that we need from the employees. Yeah.
Can I just stop and ask you before we move to the others? How do you choose which employees will be working totally from home and which ones will work in a hybrid work model?
Okay, so it's a process. We started from collecting the needs or the desires of the employees. We asked them, what do you want to do? Then the managers had to get like the data and say these employees individually it's like approved or not approved. Then we had a discussion between the manager and the employees. And then we got to the bottom line, is the employees is segmented as hybrid, remote, or office. That way we got, by the way, the differences between the needs of the employees and the business were very, very like minimal. We didn't have like a lot of tough conversation on that. The majority wanted to be in the hybrid. Okay, this is the new world, because I think that at this point, we understand that we have like good in working in an office, but also good in working from home. And we want to like to merge the both, like to have like, yeah, okay. Okay.
Let's hear, we'll come back to you in a few minutes. What about you, Yael?
Yeah. I can say that we always had a work from anywhere policy here at Tailor Brands, and it was very easy for us to implement the working from home situation once COVID burst into our lives. The transition was fairly easy, and today we're working by the guidelines of the Purple Badge. So we're allowing people to get to the office as they wish, but they don't have to. We have an attendance list, and you can, you know, sign yourself up and secure a place in the office.
Oh, so it's like an open space where you have to actually schedule it beforehand. Interesting.
Yeah, and a team can decide if he wants to come and work together. So he needs, you know, just to secure the place for the entire team for a day or so. And we currently have something that is very open for everybody until we have more clarity about what's going to be the next step with the government about workplaces.
But have you created enough spaces for if like more than 50% of employees choose to schedule a one time a place in the office, or do you find it? Well, we'll talk about challenges maybe in a few minutes, and you'll get to that. What about Radware? Ricky, how are you doing at Radware?
So I guess we are a much more traditional company than my colleagues here. And maybe a word about Radware. Radware is a cybersecurity company that has been around for over 20 years. We have 1,200 employees. So we're not just dealing with this in Israel. In Israel, we have 550 employees, but we have another 700 outside of Israel. So we're dealing with this in many different regions and many different cultures. So it's a little bit different for us. We haven't changed our offices. Our offices are still in the traditional form. Everyone has a place, but we have moved to hybrid, maybe just because of what Avi just said here, because of both, you know, the market trend and the employees' wishes, you know. And it's a competitive market, and you know, we want to get the best talents here, and we want to listen to our employees and make sure that they have the best, you know, surroundings that they can. So what we've done is we've moved in Israel to 2 hybrid days. That means 3 days you're in the office, 2 days by your choice. You can work from home. Before doing that, we did map our employees and our functions, and really identified those functions in which we have to have people at the office at all times. And for those groups, we have people, you know, on call, and we're making sure that at any times our customers will have the best support that they can. That we can provide. So it's not like everyone can be at home at the same time, but we are giving 2 hybrid days in Israel. And out of Israel, it's always been kind of a more hybrid, although we have offices in all of our locations pretty much. It's always been more of a hybrid because it's more of the sales and, you know, system engineers teams, they're in the field. So it's much more that way anyway. So that's basically what we did today. We moved to 2 hybrid days, and you know, it's only the beginning. I think it's too early to say if it's working or if it's going to stay, but that's what we're doing now.
So if I were to ask you, and maybe we'll start with Radware, because this is a global company that has, just like you said, offices all over the world. You have different purple tags in Israel and somewhere else. Maybe probably the restrictions are different. To their status. But what would you say is the biggest challenge you are dealing with today around this issue of hybrid working?
Well, I think our biggest challenge is, it's kind of a transition period. I mean, when most of the people are home, excluding those critical employees I mentioned, so we learned how to work from home, and everyone took a bit of time, but with time, everyone was online at the same time and learned how to work together, and there were processes in place. Some that we put and some that were just, created from the day to day. And now we're kind of in a situation where it's, partially from home, partially from the office. When you have a meeting, you have people in the room and you have people joining from afar. I think I hear again and again people that are joining from home that they don't get, enough of a stage, like the people that are in the room, so that would be one. Second, things are, I think it's still different when people are meeting each other face to face, so things are happening in the office and sometimes you feel left out. When you're not in the office, I mean, it's kind of, we're just learning how to work with, people being in two places at a time. That would be one. I think something else would be people who haven't gotten the vaccine, especially in Israel. In other places it's still in much earlier stages. So what do? You have people that can't because of health issues, and you have people that won't. Are you gonna still let them come to the office? Not let them come to the office? Chase them with checkups every 72 hours, like the law is suggesting. So that's, I think that's another question we're dealing with.
Okay, so first of all, it does sound very challenging. Absolutely the second one, but even the first one, you say it's the fact that the people at home are not present in the office, which means they have a more difficult bringing themselves, right, and expressing themselves when some are at the office and when they're home. And the second one, just like you said, it's the vaccines. What about Yael and Avi? What do you say? How do you find, or what do you find most challenging about this situation?
So I can share that I think the biggest challenge, if I need to have a wider look at it, is relationships. And it's also the key, the challenge and the key to, to win these challenging times. And I think that we have a new generation of managers that we need, to support today. Okay, the new managers need a new set of tools in their toolbox. And that was true also prior to COVID, but even more so, and COVID really accelerated it. So tools such as empathy and active listening and the ability to ask good questions. And I think that relationships, as Ricky, started talking about it, I think it's based on trust. And we need to learn how to establish this trust in new ways rather than the old ways when we had, accumulating hours in physical proximity in the office. And that's not the case now. And for sure, I do believe that we can do that. One of the things that we can do is, keeping a close connection. Know also the small things about our team members and not just the big updates that we need to do, and have a constant live feedback channels. And the channels needs to go both ways, in both directions. So the more people know what's happening and where they're at and what is expected from them, they feel less anxiety and more secure. And the safer people feel, it's easier for them to build a trust-based relationship. And in Tailor Brands, exactly. So in Tailor Brands, for example, our weeklies between a manager and one of the team members are actually the feedback sessions. We don't hold a bi-yearly performance review, but we do it on a weekly basis. And it's even more so true. And one of the biggest challenges is the new people and onboarding new people while we are at home. And I think we're doing it very well because of the constant feedback sessions we have on a weekly basis.
So you talked about the challenge, and then you talked about how you solve this challenge, or at least one of the ways to solve it by this weekly feedback session. Avi, before we go to Littal, because I have a very interesting question for you, Littal, What do you say? What do you find most challenging?
So two small things before I'm answering. First of all, I can relate to Yael very much. The emotional aspect is the most broad that we're looking at. And Ricky, just a small, star. I've just finished the policy on vaccine policy in Israel. So if you want, we can contact that later. Just recommended to the ELT and they took their recommendation. So if you want to,
sure. I'll be happy to. And I just want to add, I agree with Yael as well. And it's both relationship and engagement. Just making sure that everyone is still connected to us.
Yeah.
When they're away and you can't do everything that you did before to engage the employees. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to elaborate or to define the main goals or the main challenges that we had. The first one is regarding where is my place, the emotional attachment, like where is my seat in the new world, because we know it's in the Maslow pyramid, it's very basic. I have a seat, like my picture, and I need to share it with someone. Do I get along physically with them? Like it's the same keyboards, not the same keyboards. We're also global in Synamedia, and they're all kind of cultural aspects in it. The second one will be the borders, because everything is becoming very fluidic. Like I'm working in Israel and you're working in India or in China or in the US. So we have a challenge in the calendars before. Now I'm starting my day at 10 because I'm working from home. And then I want to go to have lunch with a friend in the restaurant. And then I'm trying to go back to my laptop at, 12, and I'm going to work till midnight. Do we have a core hours? Okay. Are we working? Is it okay to contact someone in my 7 p.m.? His midnight, okay? What are the borders? So the borders are getting like very, very, elusive.
Mixed up.
So the two main aspects is the attachment, like the physical attachment, but also where are we getting assembled around? What are the core that we're working around?
I think that, I hear from all of you, you talk about issues of trust and feeling, expressing yourself. I think it's all around engagement, really being engaged in way, right? And creating relationships, which is exactly why we hear that from a lot of our customers at Quatro, which is exactly why we created our engagement processes. And we actually work with companies to create a new engagement plan and onboarding, which goes together, I think, sometimes, right? Yeah, we talked about onboarding also. I think both of these need to be recreated or redesigned in each company today, in each organization, to fit the new reality, which is exactly, so anyway, that's what some of the processes we do with our clients. Before we continue, before I ask you about, give us some tips for those companies who are still not there, who are we're planning or doing it. I want to start with asking Littal. You talk about data analytics and people analytics. What data do companies need to, first of all, collect before even starting such a process, before doing it, in order to do it right, to meet the least challenges that they can?
So for me, such a question represents a kind of fundamental misunderstanding, because in people analytics, we never start with data collection. Every project that we use, we conduct, we always begin with a business question that eventually leads to actionable insights. So nowadays, we pose new business questions that are relevant to the post-pandemic time. And the steps to define such a business question that become an analytic project is pretty simple. We start by identifying a key concern of the business, an issue of the business, and then we create a hypothesis to understand how the workforce performance and the behavior of people impact those key concerns. And we continue by defining what needs to be measured to test those hypotheses. And only then we sources the data and start to collect. So if we want to have an example, suppose a business which experienced a decline in customer-related problem solving during the COVID-19, customer success agents worked separately from their team during the pandemic. They lacked support of their team, and therefore their performance is significantly low. And now the pandemic gets close to the end, and there are different attitudes among agents. Some prefer to return to the office, others prefer to work remotely, yet many others want to work flexibly. So the company needs to find the best combination that on the one hand contributes to the employee preferences, but on the other hand enable to increase the interaction between agents in the way the performance peak back to the pre-pandemic KPIs. So in general, there are only 4 questions that need to be addressed. One, and it was mentioned by my colleagues here, one is how employees actually feel, what do they need to get the work done. The third is how productive they are. And finally, how they maintain their connections with a different part in the organization. And obviously, those 4 questions are interdependent. And to answer those questions, we can leverage any of the 3 levels of people analytics: operational reporting, data mining, and scientific methods, which I'd be happy to explore further.
Thank you very much, Littal. So, you know, we understand the 4 questions we need to ask ourselves. Probably answering them are not that easy. Just like you said, you need to use maybe various methods to do so. But before we finish, we want to end always with something very optimistic, maybe. So I want to ask Riki, Yael, and Avi, if you had to give, one great tip or giveaway to HR managers, to companies, to organizations that have not yet implemented or just really designing their hybrid work model, what would it be? What would be the best tip you think you'd give them?
I'll start. You want to start, Riki?
Whatever.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think, I would just, I'm taking what Avi, Yael, Littal, all of us just said here, and Littal's very good questions. I think you should listen, really listen to your employees, listen to the market. I think listening, will bring you a lot of tips and let you really understand, like Littal said, how your employees feel, what they need. I think that would be one. And second would be to get them involved. It's not just listening, because then it can, it can also become a bitching session, but you need to get them involved. You need to tell them, okay, so, what do you do with this? What do you want to do? How are you involved? How do you want to make an impact? That usually helps a lot with engagement as well. So I think really listening to employees and involving them in the decision can take us a long way. And again, and maybe the last one is just remember we're in kind of, and I feel at least we're in still have more question marks than answers, in a transition period. We're learning, we're understanding. I hope, like Littal said, the COVID is near the end, but we don't really know yet. If it is, maybe a lot of things are going to change back, maybe not. Maybe we learned a lot of new things that we're going to implement in the future, but just remember that we're all still learning. No one has all the answers yet, so take it step by step.
I think. Thanks, Riki. I think it really kind of sums the point that where you're trying to think maybe to say is not have them only give the problems, but also be part of the solution itself. When I say that, I mean the employees. When you say keep them engaged, and
you said it much better.
I know. It's just, I'm trying to kind of put in a sentence. Thanks. Avi, Yael, what do you think? What would be your tip?
You're on mute. Yeah.
You're on mute, yeah.
Oh, you're on mute, Yael. Sorry.
I want to relate to the question marks that Riki just raised, because I think that my tip kind of relates to it. I thought about what I want to say, and I think that today I want to share my tip about establishing a culture that has a how-to for things that are important to us, and maybe, in the past they were obvious. It's like I feel like we're kind of all in the first grade together, And we need and we need to have someone to articulate the how-to to us. You know, when my kid started the first grade, he entered a new space and he needed to learn not just the ABCs, but also the how-to of the culture, how to ask questions, how to wait for his turn. I think that's the most difficult part for him, and things like that. And I think that the challenge here is to connecting people to the cultural how-to of the company. And it's a double challenge because the first, session is to understand what that is. And then the second is to make it clear as possible, zero mystery about what's working and what's not working. And if in the past, socializing in the old world included picking up, cultural vibes from observing dynamics in the room or in the kitchen, it's not the case anymore and we cannot count on it. And I think that HR are here to help learn these new playground rules from scratch, from the beginning. And for example, at Tailor Brands, we decided that it is super important for us, for everyone to feel included and as important. And that's why we wanted to level the playground. And we don't allow more than 2 members in the room together when we're in a Zoom meeting. Even if we have 5 members in the office in a single point of time, we insist not to let one person feel that is not included in the nuance or private joke someone has in a room because he's sitting far away. Nothing can make you feel more alienated than that. Or another example, if you're on Zoom, we decided it's super important for us for you to open your camera. And if you don't want to do that, that's completely fine. Phone is a valid tool, use it and schedule, phone meetings. But if you're on Zoom, open your camera because we want to see you, because that's why we're doing a video conference. So
it's like you're setting forth the new play rules. I like the fact that you said playground. I think it's absolutely accurate. And also what you're describing to us is it's a process, right? It's not a one-time. It's not that you can give them the rules by like a one-time webinar, but actually implement a process or a new DNA, which is exactly, again, like I said, what we do when we do engagement processes or onboarding processes, because it's actually changing the rules of the playground. Takes time and planning.
And if I may add,
sorry, yeah, before Abby.
Yes, and you can also measure the change and measure the new culture. These are all things that you can actually measure and find the connection between actual KPIs of the business and the employee performance. It's not only about the culture, but how it helps the business to evolve.
Absolutely, thanks. Avi?
So for my HR colleagues, I will give you that tip from me. There's not a lot of opportunities for us as HRs. Usually we're the enablers or the gatekeepers. This point in time, we have an option, like a real option, to be leading the business. And we can choose to be the engine that run this change. And we can also be part of the passengers that are going on board, because the business is not waiting. We need procedures, we need processes. And if we won't take the leadership and say, okay, we're gonna design a process for the organization, the leadership will do it. So my biggest tip is don't be afraid. We're gonna mistake. We're gonna have all kind of, gray areas and uncertainties. Go for it. It's an opportunity. HR must lead this process, must lead this change, because there are all kind of aspects that the leaderships won't necessarily be aware of as HR, as Yael said, like culture, softer aspects, the emotional aspects. It's not their forte necessarily. So take the leadership, be the engine, and take it as an opportunity, because it is an amazing opportunity, not only as a specific goal or something that you do in the broader aspect of time. How many times do we have in a lifetime an opportunity to do that immense transition? It's amazing. I'm gonna talk about it, tell my kids about it. Yeah, we used to have masks, and it's crazy, but it's also we're living it. So take the opportunity and tell your kids in the future, yeah, I've had that. I was part of the designing of the new processes that in 50 years, the world is still working with it. So it's an amazing opportunity. It's scary. It's very ambiguous, but go for it. It's a VUCA world, this is it.
Absolutely, it's a VUCA world, absolutely. Guys, first of all, I want to thank you for being with us. And for the audience, first of all, if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to either write in the chat or, of course, write us directly or DM us. And I was really happy to be with you. Very interesting conversation, and good luck to everyone who is going to implement it soon. I'm sure you got some great tips today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.